Listen, that's the sound of a dead city. A hollow, suffocating silence where a vibrant kingdom once stood. This is Bhangarh, a place so steeped in dread, so notorious for its lingering horrors that the government of India itself has declared it forbidden territory after dark. You'll see the official signs planted by the Archaeological Survey of India. They're stark, a clear warning, but the real warning isn't written on a board. It's a feeling. It's a cold, heavy weight in the air that tells you this ground has been soured by immense tragedy. It's an unspoken message that you are a trespasser here, not just in a historical site, but in a realm of eternal sorrow. They say 2 distinct curses poisoned this land, 2 tales of hubris and obsession that sealed Bhangarh's fate forever. The first was born of arrogance, a classic story of a mortal challenging a higher power. Before the first stone of the fort was even laid, a holy man, a hermit named Baba Balao Nath, gave the king a solemn warning. He had granted permission for the city to be built, but with one absolute condition: if the shadow of your walls ever dares to touch my sacred home, your city will be utterly erased. For a time, the warning was heeded, but generations passed and ambition grew. A fool prince, hungry for glory and eager to expand his legacy, decided to build higher to reach for the heavens. He ignored the ancient pact, and as the sun set one fateful day, the long shadow of his new, taller walls crept across the landscape like a dark stain, falling directly upon the hermit's dwelling. It was an act of unforgivable disrespect, and the prophecy was fulfilled with brutal finality. The hermit's curse descended like an executioner's axe, and the thriving city of Bhangarh was swallowed by ruin. But there is a second curse, a far darker and more personal tale. It's a story of twisted desire, one that has echoed through the centuries. The protagonist of this legend is the Princess Ratnavati, a woman whose beauty was said to be the jewel of all Rajasthan. She was renowned not just for her looks, but for her grace and her kind heart. And it was this radiant goodness that attracted a creature of pure darkness. A local sorcerer, a man whose soul had been blackened by forbidden's magic, became utterly obsessed with her. He knew he could never win her love through conventional means, so he resorted to the black arts he commanded. His plan was insidious. He concocted an enchanted oil, a potion designed to bewitch the princess, to enslave her will and make her his own. He disguised himself as a merchant and offered the scented oil to one of the princess handmaidens in the local market, hoping it would eventually reach Ratnavati. But the princess was as sharp as she was beautiful. She saw through his disguise and sensed the evil pulsating from the small bottle. She knew its true purpose. In a swift act of defiance, she took the oil and, instead of using it, cast it onto a large boulder nearby. The corrupted magic, denied its intended target, turned back on its master with explosive force. The boulder, now an instrument of righteous vengeance, was dislodged and began to roll, thundering down the hillside directly towards the sorcerer. It crushed the life from his body, ending his wicked obsession. But as he lay dying, with his final, ragged breath, he spat a final, venomous curse upon the entire city. He condemned Bhangarh and all its inhabitants to an eternity of desolation and torment, ensuring that no one would ever live peacefully in the place that had denied him his prize. These 2 curses, one of a slighted holy man and the other of a dying wizard, converged to create a perfect storm of paranormal energy. It's why the locals, the people who have lived in the shadow of these ruins for generations, will not dare to enter when the sun bleeds out on the horizon. They know the truth. The night does not belong to the living, it belongs to the damned. When darkness falls, Bhangarh transforms. The eerie silence of the day is shattered. The spirits here don't just whisper. They scream. They wail. They are the tormented souls of a city that was never allowed to rest. The echoes of a population wiped out in an instant, forced to relive their violent, terrifying end night after night forever. People who have dared to stay past sunset have reported harrowing experiences. They speak of the disembodied sounds of a bustling city, of marketplace chatter and children's laughter that quickly turns manic and unsettling. They hear the faint strains of music, but it's not joyous. It's a funeral dirge that seems to have no end, played on phantom instruments by ghostly musicians. They see fleeting apparitions, shadowy figures that dart between the crumbling pillars, always just at the edge of your vision. Some have felt an icy touch on their shoulder in the dead of night, or heard their name whispered on the wind by a voice that sounds ancient and full of sorrow. The air grows thick with the scent of strange perfumes, the same kind the sorcerer tried to use on the princess, only to be replaced moments later by the metallic smell of blood. This is why the authorities locked the gates. Think about it. The Archaeological Survey of India manages hundreds of ancient sites, many of them far more dilapidated and structurally unsound than Bhangarh. But this is the only one with an official government sign explicitly forbidding entry after sunset and before sunrise. Their reasoning isn't just about safety from crumbling walls or the risk of falling rocks. It's an unspoken acknowledgement of something far older, something far more malevolent that resides within those walls. They are protecting the public not from the ruins, but from what the ruins hold. There are stories, hushed and rarely confirmed, of people who defied the warnings, who stayed overnight on a dare or for a thrill and were never the same again. Some were found wandering in a state of shock, unable to speak of what they saw. Others, the legends say, were never found at all, simply swallowed by the cursed city. Bhangarh is more than just a ghost town. It is a wound on the face of the earth, a place where an entire chapter of history was brutally murdered and replaced by folklore. It's a living, breathing testament to the power of a curse. Visiting during the day, you can feel it. There's a palpable sadness that clings to the stones. You can stand in the ruins of the royal palace and almost imagine the princes walking through its halls. You can wander through the skeletal remains of the marketplace and almost hear the echoes of bartering and laughter. But underneath it all, there's a constant, humming dread. It's the chilling, undeniable certainty that you are not alone, even when you are surrounded by nothing but ruins and silence. The very air seems to watch you. So if you ever find yourself walking among these ancient stones as the day begins to die, as the shadows grow long and swallow the courtyards, remember the stories. Remember the curses. And when the darkness finally comes and you hear a voice on the wind, a whisper that sounds like your name or a cry that sounds like unbearable pain, don't waste your time asking if it's real. Ask yourself what it wants. Because in Bhangarh, the past is never dead. It's not even past. It's waiting. Thanks for joining me on this journey into one of India's most haunted locations. If you're fascinated by stories that blur the line between history and horror, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the unknown. Stay curious and stay safe.